The story begins with Sam Harrison driving through the vast, empty expanse of West Texas, the sun setting behind him and casting long shadows across the landscape. He's been on the road for hours, the monotony of the drive broken only by the occasional small town or gas station. As night falls, he decides it's time to find a place to rest and refuel before continuing his journey. In a moment of panic, Sam gets out of bed and tries to leave the room, but the door won't budge. It's as if it's been locked from the outside, trapping him inside. The whispers intensify, becoming a cacophony of overlapping voices, each one filled with fear and desperation. Sam pounds on the door, shouting for help, but the sound is swallowed by the oppressive atmosphere of the room. As the night deepens, the room becomes a prison of fear and confusion. The television continues to flicker with static, the light from the lamp casting eerie shadows that seem to dance on the walls. The whispers have turned into cries and pleas, as if countless voices are trapped within the room, begging for release. Sam's fear turns to dread as he realizes that something terrible must have happened in this room, something that has left a dark stain on the place. He remembers the clerk's weary expression, the way he hesitated before handing over the key, and the unsettling feeling that he's not the first person to experience this nightmare. Desperate to escape, Sam begins to search the room for any clues that might explain what's happening. He checks the nightstand drawer and finds a Bible, its pages yellowed and brittle. Inside the front cover, he finds a name written in faded ink, one of the previous guests who stayed in room 13, along with a date from decades ago. The cries and whispers grow louder, the room's temperature dropping to a bone-chilling cold. Sam's breath fogs in the air as he opens the closet, revealing a hidden compartment behind a loose panel. Inside, he finds a collection of old, dusty items, a woman's scarf, a broken watch, and a photograph of a young couple, their faces smiling but their eyes filled with a sadness that seems to reach out from the past. As Sam examines the photograph, the room begins to shake, the walls groaning as if under immense pressure. The cries turn into screams, and the shadows on the walls take on twisted humanoid forms. Sam's heart races as he realizes that the room is haunted by the spirits of those who have suffered and died here, trapped in a cycle of torment that has claimed many before him. In a last-ditch effort, Sam grabs the photograph and begins to speak to the spirits, pleading with them to let him go. He acknowledges their pain and suffering, promising to remember them and to tell their story if they release him. For a moment, the room falls silent, the air thick with tension. The oppressive atmosphere in the room begins to lift, the shadows retreating and the cold dissipating. The whispers fade into silence, and the door to the room creaks open on its own, revealing the dark, empty corridor outside. Sam doesn't hesitate. He grabs his things and rushes out of the room, not daring to look back. He returns the key to the front desk, but the clerk is nowhere to be found. The motel is eerily quiet, the only sound the wind howling outside. Sam hurries to his truck, the first light of dawn beginning to break on the horizon. As he drives away, the motel fades into the distance, the flickering neon sign the last thing he sees before it disappears from view. Sam's mind races as he tries to make sense of what happened, but he knows one thing for sure. Room 13 is a place where the past refuses to stay buried, a room that holds the memories of those who suffered and died within its walls. He's grateful to have escaped, but the memory of the night will haunt him forever. After driving for another hour with no sign of civilization, Sam finally spots a flickering neon sign in the distance, a rundown motel called the Desert Rose. The building is old and weathered, its paint peeling and its lights dim, but it's the only option for miles around. With no other choice, Sam pulls into the parking lot, his truck the only vehicle in sight. The story ends with Sam pulling into a truck stop, exhausted but safe. He sits down with a cup of coffee, the warmth of the morning sun a welcome relief after the terror of the night. As he stares into his coffee, the image of the photograph lingers in his mind, a reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, their secrets hidden away in the shadows. The motel office is small and cluttered, with an old-fashioned bell on the counter. Sam rings it, and after a few moments, a tired-looking clerk appears from the back room. The man is pale and thin, with sunken eyes that seem to hold a deep weariness. He greets Sam with a nod and offers him the key to room 13, the only room available. Sam hesitates for a moment, his practical nature making him consider the superstitions around the number 13, but he dismisses it as nonsense and takes the key. He thanks the clerk and heads out to his room, the sound of the desert wind rustling through the nearby scrubland. The exterior of the motel is as run down as it appeared from the outside, with cracked pavement and flickering lights. Room 13 is at the end of a long row of identical doors, its paint faded and its number barely legible. Sam unlocks the door and steps inside, the air stale and thick with the scent of dust and old wood. The room is small and sparsely furnished, an old bed with a faded quilt, a rickety nightstand, and a chair that looks like it hasn't been sat in for years. A small television sits on a dresser across from the bed, and a single window offers a view of the empty desert beyond. Despite the rundown appearance, the room is clean, and Sam is too tired to be picky. As he settles in for the night, Sam begins to notice strange things about the room. The air feels unusually cold, and there's an odd hum that seems to come from the walls, barely audible but persistent. The light from the bedside lamp flickers occasionally, casting strange shadows that seem to move on their own. He brushes it off as old wiring and the effects of a long day on the road. As he lies in bed trying to sleep, Sam hears faint noises, soft whispers, like distant voices carrying through the walls. At first he thinks it's just the wind or perhaps another guest in the adjacent room, but the whispers grow louder, more insistent, and they seem to be coming from within the room itself. He sits up, heart pounding, and scans the darkened space, but there's no one there. The television flickers on suddenly, static filling the screen. Sam jumps, startled, and fumbles for the remote, but the screen remains filled with snowy static. The whispers grow louder, turning into distinct words that Sam can't quite make out. The room seems to close in around him, the walls feeling closer, the air heavier.